right, it's that time again where I get to talk to Kathy D. Carter, the Soul Finder. And Kathy and I have already spent about 5-10 minutes talking about what we're going to record today. And the first topic that came up was more scams.
More scams. I can't believe the world we live in today. So, let me share the ones I have, and then Frito and I are going to give you all tips and things to watch. And please tell your older family members, because honestly, they don't know these things. Lots of people out in the business world that's out every day, you may know them and hear them, but there's lots of people that aren't out around those kind of people to hear and know what is possible now and what kind of scams are out there. So just recently I had, these two happened pretty close together. I had my car in the garage for repair, and while it was there, one of our hailstorms hit. So I had a rental car during this time, and I returned the rental car when I picked up my car from the dealer. And the next morning I get a call from Enterprise, and they said, "You've damaged the car. There's a big scratch on the bumper." And I said, "No, I didn't do that." I said, "That was on the car when I picked it up." And so he hangs up and he comes back later and he says, "No, it wasn't noted. We have to file a claim on your insurance." He was very dramatic and demanding that this was the procedure and the claim was going to be filed against me because I had put this bumper out of alignment. So I said, he said, who checked you in? I said, "I don't remember."
Of course not.
I said, "I do remember he was new." And he comes back and he says, "Oh, it was the branch manager that signed off on your account."
No, it wasn't, but go ahead.
And he says, "He's in a meeting right now." And he said, "You need to call him back in about 30 minutes and talk to him about this." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "I've got things and I don't want to call back and be put on hold, or he's busy." I said, "Why doesn't he call me?" And he that kind of threw him off guard somehow. And he said, "Well, okay." He said, "But this is the procedure and we have to file this claim against you." And I just couldn't believe it because, there again, I did not take pictures of the car. I should have took pictures of the car that were dated when I got it. So I had my own proof because that scratch was on that bumper, and I knew that I knew intuitively that could be a problem, but I ignored it because the guy said, "No, we don't have to note anything that's not
But you brought it up.
size." Oh, yes, I'd brought it up because I saw it when I was walking around the car. He said, "No, that spot's not big enough. We don't have to note that." And I thought, okay, well, then here I get this. So then I call my insurance lady to forewarn her what they're doing. And she says, "Oh, this is a very common scam." She said, "This is not unusual." She said, rental car places get by with this because they will have a damage on the vehicle and they will file, I can't believe this, but they will file on 3 or 4 drivers. They never get it fixed, and they make the money off of the insurance claim. And she said, "Oh, don't worry about it." She said, "If it's not too much, your insurance premium won't raise up." And I said, "Well, what about the deductible?" And she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Usually on these kinds of cases, that gets waived." And I thought, this really is a scam. And it's all set up to be a scam. Go ahead. What do you know about this?
Well, I worked at Enterprise. It's my first year out of college. And I've got plenty to say about a lot of what you're talking about. But I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth.
Okay.
Okay? Because I understand the Enterprise side of it.
Right.
Because that happens all the time. And there is legitimate damage that happens to rental cars. And a lot of the times the damage is so small that it's not worth filing a claim over. But then it adds up. Okay? So it's a real question mark on whether you want to take the time as the company to file the claim. And it's also going to be a question of who checks that car in when you return it, because different people have different standards. And that's just human nature.
Yes,
that's
I get that.
I mean,
I get that.
one branch manager may look at it and say, man, that's significant damage. And the other branch manager may say, yeah, it's cosmetic. The car still runs. I don't want to mess with it.
Let me say, before we go on, this branch manager where I was and was using Enterprise at was very nice. Mm-hmm. So were the other people. Only this guy that called me on the phone I had a problem with.
Well, that's the other thing.
Is that the good guy, bad guy?
And I may have heard it wrong, the way you described the story. It's very rare for a branch manager to check anyone into a car.
Right.
It is common now, and once again, this is 30 years ago.
Right.
Okay. It is a lot more common for the branch manager to be involved when the employee is checking the car back in after the customer returns it, and the employee says, I'm not sure about this damage. That's when the branch manager may check the car out once it's brought back and make that decision. And that's the other part of the equation. Once again, it's just human nature. It's not
right.
It's not evil. Where, depending on who that employee is, if that's a brand new employee, the branch manager may want to make an example and say, you've got to check it thoroughly. And yeah, we don't put up with this kind of damage. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the manager isn't in the mood to teach a lesson, no big deal. Mm-hmm. So there's so many different factors. And I got to tell you that this is crazy, but it's not that crazy. The last time I rented a car, which was like a couple months ago, actually I had a body cam on me. And not just because of the, it wasn't specifically for the car rental, but when I bought a gun, I started carrying around a body cam. Because if I ever shot that gun, I wanted to have as much evidence as possible that whenever I used the gun, and I didn't know if I was ever going to shoot the gun. I didn't know if the body cam was going to capture the footage, but I just wanted to be prepared.
Right.
But it also, in instances like this, it can come back and help you out a little bit, maybe. And I think that's where we're headed, and maybe a decade from now, I don't know how long it's going to take, but everyone's going to they're going to document everything.
Yes. And that's so sad, but if I had just taken pictures, because that's automatic. I know, but if I had of, I could have told the guy. He even asked me over the phone. He said, "Where was the scratch on the fender, on the bumper?" He said, "Was it up or down or near the tire or where was it?"
And that's the other thing is, you're right. Everyone else is nice to you, except for the guy on the phone. That's his job.
I know.
And what an awful job that is.
I know. That is what's partly wrong with our world, is because they have made these jobs be that way, and the person gets caught in this job, and then they feel like they got to stay there because they can't make money somewhere else, and they're working against their inner moral code. Most of them. Now, some of them enjoy it, but they're working on their negative side doing that.
And I think a lot of them that do enjoy it, they enjoy the challenge maybe, but I've got to think that years from now they look back on it and say, you know what, that was a job, I wasn't making any money, and I was a mercenary. Because
I'll never forget when I was younger and I was being put in temp jobs. And I was put into this collection agency.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I love these stories.
And I was put at this little cubicle, and I was told to call these people and to collect the money they owed. And then it wasn't but an hour later they come by and they said, "Are you pushing these honestly, I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was insurance. I don't know. It was something else that I was supposed to get these people to buy. Can you imagine calling these poor people that were not paying their loan and then trying to sell them something else on top of that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that I sat there at that job? This was the hardest thing for me. I sat there and I pretended to be busy. I called 1 or 2 that day. And I just sat there, and the guy, he was watching. He'd walk around the whole deal, all of us. He said, "You're not making me any calls." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "What's the problem?" I said, "I can't do this." I said, "I cannot call these people that owe money and are in debt, and they don't have that much."
They don't need.
Yeah, and then try to sell them something they don't need on top of it. I said, "I can't do it." He let me go.
Yeah, well, of course, and he should have.
Yeah. I should have walked out.
Yeah, I mean.
No, but I was too, that was back in my day when I didn't think I could do those kind of things.
And I know you didn't take that the wrong way when I said he should have.
No.
Well, that's just a fact of life.
No, he should have, because he saw I wasn't into it.
And you know, there's a difference. There's scams, there's scammers, and then there's just outright evil.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're describing to me isn't outright evil, but they are scammers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're walking right up to that line.
Well, so let's do the other one that I had. So my phone rings, and the number is a 800 number, and it says Wells Fargo Bank, where my checking account is, one of them. And I thought, that's odd they're calling. And I was with a client. And then as soon as that call fell off, then it came back up again. They were calling again. And I told my client, I said, "I'm sorry, but I need to take this call just to make sure what it is." Well, lo and behold, it was the scammers again. And they said, "We have you on travel," which, by the way, Wells Fargo fraud department now tells me no one marks cards anymore, whether you're on travel or not.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're on travel and you're making a wire transfer to this," I forgot the name, Martinez, "for $7,500. Well, in my little head, I knew I didn't have $7,500 in that bank account, so I thought, but I didn't say that. And I said, "No, I'm not making that wire transfer. It's not mine." And he said, "Okay, then we need to get this taken care of before it goes through." And it's always a rush. They always put you in a panic and a rush, because then you don't think. And I said, "Well, how do I know this is really Wells Fargo?" He said, "Well, ma'am, if you'll look at your Wells Fargo debit card, it's the customer service number that's on the back." And sure enough, it was. And I said, "Okay, it is." And I kept talking to him for a little bit. He said, "Oh, let's verify your email." And he gave me my email, and I said, "Yes." And he said, "We need to verify your last 3 bank transactions to verify those to make sure we have everything cleaned up." And I said, "Oh, okay." And before I know it, the phone clicks and they're gone. So I think they had figured out that I wasn't playing along good enough, because they wanted me to open up my bank account so I could tell them the last 3 transactions is what they wanted.
That's evil.
Yeah.
Because that's just complete out and out.
So when
fraud.
when we hung up and I got my card, I already had it out because I'd checked the number. I tried calling customer service back. It wouldn't ring. It wouldn't do anything.
On the number that was on your card?
That's why I said I wondered if my phone was hacked. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
My phone would not put that call through. So then I drive to the nearest branch, and I go in, and I'm sorry, but this guy was nonchalant. Oh yeah, he was not compassionate. He was not helpful, except he did talk to a manager and then came back out and said, "Well, you can call from our landline." And so I did, and this guy at the fraud department was very nice. He talked to me probably 10 or 15 minutes telling me all the things to watch for and what to do. But the biggest one is, if anybody calls you, you do not correct them if they call you by the wrong name. You do not give them any information, and if it's a bank or a credit card, you say, okay, I'll call the office and
Exactly.
I'll call you,
Yeah.
you know.
Let me call you right back.
And you hang up.
Because here's the easy rule, and it's a sad way to live life, but my easy rule is if there's a phone number that calls me that I don't already have in my contacts, it's a scam. And you're going to have to prove to me it's not a scam. And by the way, you're not going to prove it to my voice live. You're going to go to my voicemail, and then I'm going to decide whether or not to call you back or not. Which is, it's a very pessimistic way to live life. It's kind of the opposite of who I am, but it's a very easy way that you just assume everything's a scam until they prove it's not.
Well, almost now you have to. Oh, the other thing that you need to tell people is not to click on any link.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That you're sent, text message or email, anywhere. Don't click on links that, oh, you won this or whatever. They're all nearly scams now.
Yeah. And that one for me is pretty easy. And even people that are my friends know, if they could send me a link to click and they could call me and say, hey, I just sent you this link, I'm not clicking it anyway. Because I don't trust them enough. I don't trust that they know enough about that link for me to click it. Okay, now here's one for you. Okay, because I'm about 99% sure that I'm right to be upset about this.
Oh, let's hear it.
But it's my fault. Okay. There are certain bills that I pay that I pay every other month.
Right.
Or I'll pay I used to joke around when I'd go to city council meetings, and I thought that I might want to run for city council. And when you start in towns like Allen, which is where we're at right now, it's a suburb of Dallas. It's not a small town, but it's not a big metropolis. Is that a word, metropolis?
Yeah,
it is,
but that depends on where you come from.
That's true. And when the city councilmen start seeing you show up at meetings, they want to know, are you going to run for office? Because that's who shows up to these meetings. They're people
that's going to run.
And they want to know who they're going to run against. And I always told them, no, I got way too many skeletons in my closet. And one day the mayor at another event, who I was friendly with the mayor, he came up to me and said, hey, Frito, I know that you say you're not going to run for office because of skeletons, but I want to know what the skeletons are.
Of course.
And I said, well, Mr. Mayor, let me tell you, first of all, my yard it's not awful, but it's definitely never going to be in consideration for yard of the month in my neighborhood. So I don't really keep an immaculate, it's not a great yard. And he said, that's not that big of a deal. I said, well, I also pay my water bill like the day before they're going to cut it off. And he said, yeah, it's not that big of a deal either. Don't worry about that. I said, and then the final one is I don't recycle. He said that could be an issue. So, but the payment of the water bill is true. I mean, bills like that.
You wait till the
day
they're going to cut it off.
And I think what happened, Kathy, was one of my first checking accounts was a checking account that didn't have a service charge until you could write 8 checks a month.
Oh.
And then on the 9th check, it was like a quarter a check or something.
Right.
So I would try and conserve my checks. And so I kind of got in that habit of, I knew when.
Waiting.
Yeah.
Till the last minute.
And then once everything became electronic, I stopped getting notices and I stopped checking my mail.
Yeah.
Because
we're all at fault at that, and
so,
that's not a good thing.
Like cable and DirecTV, the way I knew my bill was due is when they cut me off.
And then you would call and
so there's no telling how many reconnection fees I paid. And that's my fault. That is, and that's where the 1% comes in on this one. So, AT&T, and I'm going to tell you what I told them. I love AT&T's products. They've got amazing products, and I consume them all. I've got 2 iPhones that are on AT&T service. I've got an iPad. I've got an Apple Watch, all with AT&T service. I've got home internet, AT&T, and I've got DirecTV, which is AT&T. So I've got no less than 7.
Yeah.
separate AT&T accounts. Some of them are bundled together, but
they all should be.
Well, no, here's the problem. They're not all bundled together because different AT&T reps throughout the years have put different products in different accounts because of the way they get paid.
Huh.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't get paid depending on who you talk to, who you go to. The rep at the outlet or at the retail place, he gets commission if he starts a new service. So rather than adding that second iPhone to my primary service, it may be, hey, why don't we open a business account for you? Since it's going to be your business phone.
Because then he
Where the
gets
truth
credit.
is, I'm not going to see the difference, except now I've got two different accounts. But he gets full commission because he just opened up a brand new account. So anyways, so my AT&T organization is all over the place. Okay? Well, my home internet, I've been trying to pay it for about a month and a half. And what was happening was every time I'd log in to pay my home internet, it would take me to my phone account. And it was just a hassle. And I don't deal with hassles. I mean, I'm all about convenience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll spend like 2 minutes on it. And if I can't get it done, I'll move on to something else.
Got it.
Okay. Well, it got to the point where they shut off my home internet service, which has happened before, no big deal. So you just call them and they'll reconnect it, no problem. Well, this time they disconnected all of it, canceled the account.
For your home...
For my home internet.
Okay.
And when
canceled the account.
So I called to...
Reconnect,
and I actually took the pay. I was patient enough to wait to talk to a person.
Oh, yes.
And when I talked to the person was very, 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 very extremely nice.
Uh-huh.
And she said, well, here's the problem. We have canceled your account, so we're going to need to send a technician out there to reconnect. We can't just reconnect. And I'm like, and that's, once again, I'm all about convenience. Once you get into sending a technician out, you're having to schedule a week in advance.
You got to be there.
When did you and I schedule this recording session?
Today.
About 3 hours ago.
Right.
I'm not someone.
Me either.
Okay, and that's me. That's a me thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not them. That's me. I'm fully willing to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and this is where she did the absolute worst thing you can do to me. And she said, but this may be your lucky day. There may be a blessing in disguise because I can offer you a business account. So she tried to sell me something as she's disappointing me about this technician. And I'll call her Kathy.
Okay.
I said, Kathy, is this conversation being recorded? And she said, yes. I said, I don't think anyone's ever going to listen to it, but I just want it to be known that you are doing your job, and you're doing a great job, and I have no problems with you whatsoever. Your company, the product is awesome. I have no problems with your product. But it is 10:45 on a Monday morning, and I just want it to be known that from this minute forward, I am going to be looking for ways to disassociate myself from anything that has to do with AT&T. And that means that my phones will be switched, my internet will be switched, and I may have to keep DirecTV because I really like it. And I actually said that. But I said, your company is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and I'm not going to deal with it anymore. And she was, Mr. Friedman, I'm just trying to, I said, it has nothing to do with you. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're just following procedure, but your company's procedure sucks. And if there's a supervisor I can talk to right now, I'd love to talk to a supervisor. And she gave me, my supervisor's in a meeting right now. And I said, that's what I figured.
Yeah, the common phrase.
So hopefully If it's being recorded, someone will listen to it. But you did great, but I'm leaving. And we hung up, and I got on the internet. And here's some advice for people.
Okay.
If you get on the internet and you direct message the company.
Oh, like you've got a company.
On Facebook or Twitter, because these big companies all are on social media.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the social media departments are not run by customer service people. They're run by social media people. And their job is to engage. And I think the way they look at it, I don't know for sure. But if you take the time to direct message them on Twitter or on Facebook, they may not, the people that respond to you, they don't have the power to fix anything, but they know who to call. And they know how to direct you. And so I got on social media and I sent a message and I got a response right away. And I typed in everything I told that rep. And it didn't do me any good because I'm not willing to do the legwork, but that's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
But they were at least acting helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, let's walk through this process. The first thing we need to do is figure out how we can make it easier for you to pay your bill without getting directed to the wrong account, which is absolutely true.
Well, that should have already been figured out
yes.
by a company that big.
Yes.
They should be, all your accounts should be under one.
But here's the problem, and you just said it, that big.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty sure that for a regular person, like an individual,
mm-hmm.
I'm probably a top customer,
mm-hmm.
but they've got much bigger customers than me.
Right. Of course.
Much bigger.
Yes.
And so me leaving them isn't bothering them one bit.
No.
I know that, but makes me feel better. And right now I'm at home without TV because I'm.
Mm-hmm. You're looking.
I'm looking. Not only that, I feel kind of bad about this, but I'll say it. I'm in an apartment
mm-hmm.
on the 4th floor,
mm-hmm.
and on the 1st floor in the leasing office,
mm-hmm.
they've got guest internet.
Uh-huh.
And it's nowhere near as good as the fiber that I had in my apartment.
But it works.
But it's good enough that I can, if I really want to watch TV.
You can.
Yeah. And then I've got 2 offices with internet. I can watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
But,
mm-hmm.
anyways.
Well, the thing
so I'm kind of stealing internet right now is what I'm telling you.
Well, yes and no.
But my money's not going to AT&T.
Right. The thing I would like to say, the one thing that really stands out is that, yes, this lady was doing her job,
mm-hmm.
but is that lady looking at her inner moral code and saying, this is what I want to do every day?
I think you just described a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think in this case,
She
wasn't being mean. She
right.
wasn't. And that's where I'm going to give the 1%. Because ultimately, I was talking about this on another podcast, and this may take it into another topic, may make this one a little bit longer, but I think it's worth
mm-hmm.
talking about. No, it's not. We're going to do this topic next.
Okay.
In the next episode.
Okay.
Because it's a good topic.
Yeah.
So.
Just living true to your inner moral code is very important, though. And if people would quit doing these insane jobs where they're mean to people and they do those kinds of things to people and customers, the company would have to revise their policy because they couldn't get anyone to enforce them.
Amen.
Why are the people not standing up to their inner moral code? Why are people not standing up and saying, no, I will not do that?
And I'm going to be optimistic about it.
Good.
I think a lot of people aren't standing up to their inner moral code, or they think they are, because their inner moral code says, my top priority is feeding my family.
Right. And there is that issue. I get that. Mm-hmm. I totally get that. But it's still it has been the slow corruption of this happening, and now it's here so big.
And we all accept it.
Mm-hmm. And we all accept it, and that's what we got a problem.
Yep.
Because we've overlooked it.